In the previous video, we had discussed about several interventions that are made on the ridge area and drainage line. In this video also, we will try to discuss some more interventions that are made on the drainage line. In the previous video, as you know, we have basically discussed about all the interventions that are made on the surface, but we have never discussed about the interventions that are made beneath the surface. As we know, there are two types of runoff: the runoff which flows on the surface, the runoff which flows beneath the surface, which is called as subsurface flow of water. We have discussed about all the possible interventions that are made on the surface, but we have not discussed about subsurface. So the same thing we will discuss in this video, and some more techniques in which we could be able to understand the interaction between the river and the underground water. Okay, now the first major interventions that is done in the subsurface flow is underground dukes. Underground dukes are basically the trenches that are driven across the cross section of a river. Then that trench will be filled by some impervious material, that is clay and plastic sheet. By using these two material, we would try to stop the flow of water beneath the river bed. Okay, what basically happens is there is a flow of water on the top of the bed and also at the bottom of the bed. So the water that is flowing at the bottom of the bed, beneath the bed, we call it as subsurface flow. So in the previous video, we had discussed about stopping the flow of water on the surface, but we have not discussed about the water that is flowing beneath. So in this, by constructing the underground dukes, as you see in the figure, we could be able to stop the flow that is taking place beneath the surface or the bed of the river. So by doing that, there are several advantages. We will try to discuss some of the objectives of underground dukes. The first thing is that we are going to cut down the flow that is taking place in the subsurface, and the second thing is by cutting down the flow, we could be able to recharge the open wells and tube wells that are nearby to that region. Okay, the next thing is that we could be able to increase the time duration of flow of subsurface flow to the water harvesting structure. By that, we could be able to utilize the water which is immediately being trapped in the subsurface. Underground dukes are mostly suitable in hard bedrock and also Black-Cotton soil. So basically in those regions, we could be able to store more water in the Black-Cotton soil, and at the same time, if the bed of the underground duke, if it is impervious in nature, we could be able to make the water flow laterally. First, we would like to see the picturization of how underground dukes function. Okay, as you can see in the picture, there is a river that is flowing in the first figure. Then we have the second figure in which there is a establishment of underground dukes, and if you try to compare both the figures, you will find out the difference that is taking place because of construction of underground dukes. In the first picture, as you can see, there is no water in the well. Okay, in the second picture, as you can see, by construction of the underground dukes, there is an increase in the water level. So what basically underground water dukes does is, the water that is flowing beneath the surface or at the bed of the river, it will start flowing in the lateral direction instead of in the longitudinal direction. So usually the water that is flowing beneath the bed is flowing in the direction of the river itself. But as you construct the underground dukes, what happens? The water starts flowing laterally. Okay. So this is how you can be able to understand the function of underground dukes. Let us see the cross section of underground dukes. As you can see, the underground dukes are to be dug out till we reach to the impermeable strata. So we will discuss about why it is required to dig until the impermeable strata. Basically what happens is, the water that is being obstructed, it has to flow in the lateral direction, not in the linear direction. So if you want to make water flow in the lateral direction and increase the level of water in the wells, you need to find out the impermeable surface itself at the bottom. If else, what happens? Instead of water flowing in the lateral direction, it will start flowing in the vertical direction itself if you construct a underground dukes across such kind of rivers. So the impermeable strata should be available at the lower height, then only it is possible for water to flow in the lateral direction, or else the water will flow in the vertical direction. Okay, now let us see what are the different components that are available in the cross section of the underground dukes. Initially what happens, there is an outer layer of clay puddle that is being filled. After that, there is a plastic sheet that has been placed. Now you can see, after once the plastic sheet is kept there, the clay has also been placed. Okay, so the first layer will be of clay, next there is a plastic sheet, after that again the clay has been filled. As you know, the clay is basically an impermeable in nature. The water doesn't flow across the clay structure. Okay, and then at the top of that there can be a loose boulder checks can be placed at the top, as you can see in the figure. Also at the top of the underground tubes they have placed the loose boulder check, so that the loose boulder check will create some hydraulic gradient and it can help the water seep from the river to the underground digs also. So after that the underground digs will help the water flow in the lateral direction. So this is what the entire function of underground duct is. Now let us discuss some of the important points that we have to remember while locating any underground dukes. First thing is that we need to make sure that the embankments are sturdy, firm, so that the erosion will not take place. The second thing is that the river embankments should not change its courses. Like for example, you might have seen several streams, local streams and small streams, they usually change their course of direction after some period of time, and in different seasons they change their directions and their locations. If you can construct underground dukes in such kind of changing variabilities, you may not be able to achieve the objectives that you had preferred. Underground dukes should be constructed in such areas where there is a long duration subsurface flow. If there is no subsurface flow, there is no importance, or there is no objective of underground duct that will be satisfied. As I already explained you the importance of impermeable strata that is readily available. If the impermeable strata is not readily available, or if it is not available at a minimum height, what will happen? You need to dig a very deep trench and it becomes uneconomical to construct such kind of underground dukes. The next thing is that wherever you construct the underground dukes, you should make sure that the open wells and tube wells are readily available and they are in the vicinity of the underground dukes itself, so that the water that is flowing laterally will recharge the wells. The next thing is we need to look at the bed slope of the underground dukes. If the percentage of bed slope is higher, then the water that is being stored in the subsurface will not move in the lateral direction. It will, or it may move in the direction of the river itself. So it cannot be suitable to construct underground dukes when the slope of the stream are greater than 20% or 25%. The amount of water that can be recharged basically depends upon two things: the impermeable condition of the aquifer and also the slope and gradient of the aquifer. As you can see in the earlier picture also, the underground dukes were constructed perpendicular to the flow direction of the river. So basically that is the most optimum direction in which you could be able to construct the underground dukes. But if you have a river which is completely meandering in direction, or if it doesn't have any straight course of flow of water, then you could be able to find out an optimized direction in which you could store more water, or you could be able to make more water flow in the lateral direction. So this is what about underground dukes was. Next we will go for recharging pits. For you to understand the recharge pits, I would like to show you or demonstrate you the work that is done by some of the women from the Tamil Nadu.
It's hard to believe today that the Naganadi river, which snakes through the northern part of Tamil Nadu, was once dry and dead. Kumudha Pannir Selvam, one of the resolute women of Vellore district who brought back the river to life, was a young girl when it began to disappear. Farmers in the region relied heavily on cash crops like paddy, wheat and pulses that required an abundance of water to thrive. And digging deeper and deeper every year meant that the groundwater was steadily declining. By the early 2000s, the Naganadi river was no more. In 2014, however, after years of hardship, things began to slowly change. The process was simple but labor-intensive. The women worked long hours to build deep trenches in the ground, called recharge wells, that would trap water, draw it underground and store it until needed. Once the groundwater was replenished and when the rains came, the river started to flow again. Over the last 4 years, these women have built more than 600 recharge wells and planted hundreds of drought-resistant saplings along the river basin. With nearly 9,000 hectares of agricultural land reclaimed and a staggering 6-meter rise in groundwater levels. What the women of Vellore district have achieved, however, is no small feat. They have brought a dead river back to life, and they continue to do all they can to make sure their children don't endure the hardship they did.
As you saw in the video, the entire process of recharging the river or harvesting the water was opposite to that of what I explained in the underground dukes. What happened in underground duke is that the water that was flowing in the subsurface was driven towards the wells, but the opposite happened in case of the video that you've seen. This is called as recharge pits. Recharge pits are basically acts like an open well. In that open well, we divert all the water, and the water that is stored in the open well will recharge the river when it is necessary. Basically, it is the game of hydraulic gradient. If the hydraulic gradient is higher in the river, the water starts flowing from river towards the well. If the water level is greater in the well, the water starts flowing from well to the river. So this is what we call it as interaction of river and underground water. So as you can see in the figure, this is a simple demonstration of how the entire watershed will interact the water at several cases. Okay, so if you see the figure, you could be able to visualize how the water is flowing from infiltration to recharge of groundwater, and the groundwater is contributing to the lake, and the lake is again supplying water to the groundwater, and the groundwater is ultimately flowing into river. So this is how the interaction will take place. Basically, based on the hydraulic gradient that is established, the water will flow in that direction. So all those who have farms might individually give interest in understanding this entire process. So what we need to understand is the kind of terrain condition that we have in the farmland. Basically, with the type of terrain condition, we are going to establish some of the techniques. With the feasibility of the plain or the undulation of the area, we are going to decide what kind of techniques that can be established. Let us discuss some of the techniques that we adopt in our farmlands. So these we'll call it as on-farm techniques. Basically, what we need to understand here is that the water that trickles on your farmland should be planned such that the water will be stored and harvested in your farmland itself. So basically, this happens in 4 categories. The first one is the system of bunds and diversion channels. So what you do is that the water that flows on the top of the farmland will be made to flow and retain within the farmland itself by constructing several system of bunds and diversion channels. The next thing is that seepage drains. So seepage drains are basically established in the regions of farmland where there is a water logging. So let me explain you what is water logging. Water logging is basically the water level will be raised into the root zone. Root zone is a zone where you grow your crops, right? The roots of your plants will grow. Okay, so if that area is completely filled with the water, it is impossible for the farmer to grow the crops in those regions. So when you want to remove the water that is being stored in the root zone, we use this seepage drains. Seepage drains are basically the drains that are placed inside the ground or beneath the ground surface, and the water that is logged in the root zone will be diverted towards some other point. Okay, this is what seepage drain is, and the water that is being extracted from this waterlogged area will be diverted towards the area where you want to store the water. Next thing is to grow the grass at some specific areas. Like for example, if you find the slope of your bund is too high, you can go for grassland in those areas in order to retain the soil that is getting eroded. So basically, the grass helps you retain all the soil that is available in the farm. Next thing is that you should grow more horticulture species plant across the bunds and the wells of your farm. The last bit of watershed technique is water harvesting structure. We need to deepen and repair all the existing water harvesting structure. Next thing is earth dams. Then we'll discuss about dugout farm ponds. Let us first discuss about water harvesting, and then we are going to discuss about the water harvesting structure. So in all the previous techniques that we had discussed, basically aid you harvesting the water. So the end result is over here. All these interventions that we have already discussed will help you in increasing the water that is available in your harvesting structures. So harvesting structure is the end point of our entire establishment of watershed management. Okay, so here harvesting means what? You are trying to collect the water that is flowing on the earth and store it for a longer period for our usefulness. So as I already discussed about, there are three ways in which we could be able to store the water. One is we can store the water on the surface. Next is the water that is stored in the soil. The last one is to store the water in the groundwater. So harvesting is basically storing the water for a longer period and using it for the mankind or for any other sources too. So let us discuss about what are the needs of water harvesting. First thing is that we already know there is a scarcity of water and there is a temporal and spatial variation of water. So if we could be able to store more water, it will be benefit for us, and it could even increase the groundwater table that we have. Next thing is that it will improve the quality of groundwater that we have, because as you might have seen in your vicinity itself, the groundwater is getting contaminated by several minerals and ores, because we are digging deep into the groundwater. We are extracting the water beyond the safe drinking water depths. Okay, so beyond that depth, what happens is that you start extracting the water that is being contaminated by heavy metals also and several other minerals which are not good for our body. So by recharging the water, you could be able to increase the quality of groundwater. Next thing is that we could be able to arrest the seawater intrusion. Basically, seawater intrusion happens when there is a difference in the hydraulic gradient between the groundwater and the seawater. Like, you must be able to imagine this. If the groundwater reduces, the level of the seawater remains same. Because of the reduction in the groundwater, the water will start flowing from the sea towards the ground. Okay, now if we keep the groundwater at the higher level, so what happens is the hydraulic gradient of the groundwater is at a higher level, so that the water, fresh water, will be flowing into the river. So this enables the arrest of seawater intrusion into our fresh water. So we need to always keep the groundwater table at a higher level, so that the seawater will not intrude into our freshwater aquifers. So basically this problem arises in most of the coastal areas in India as well as the world. So we need to recharge the groundwater, or we need to harvest the water, so that we will not disturb our freshwater reserves in the underground by the intrusion of salt water. And we can also avoid the flood situation several areas by harvesting the water, and we could be able to conserve the water and augment that water for more beneficial needs. Let us discuss about dugout farm ponds. Dugout farm ponds are basically the ponds that are established or constructed in the farmland itself. Basically, it is a technique of farmers to store water in his own land. The water that is being received in his own farmland, he try to capture it and store the water in his own farmland. Let us discuss some of the conditions which we have to look at our dugout farm ponds. We have to establish the dugout farm ponds in such a way that it could be able to receive all the water from the farm. The next thing is that you need to construct the dugout farm ponds on an area where there is an impermeable surface. If the surface becomes permeable, the water starts flowing vertically downward in direction, so you could not be able to store more water in your farm ponds. So you have to dig your farm ponds to reach until the impermeable surface is available. You should select a site to construct dugout farm ponds such that the impermeable surface is available at a depth of 3 meters itself. If the depth of the impermeable surface increases, the construction cost of dugout pond will increase, and thus it becomes uneconomical to construct a dugout ponds. And there is a necessity to reach the dugout and it is necessary to reach to the impermeable surface, because if you construct in an permeable surface, the water will start flowing in the vertical direction, and thus you could not be able to store more water on the surface, which is useful for the farming. The next thing is that if there is already a dugout farm that is available, you need to construct the next dugout farm at upstream of your available dugout farm. And it is not preferred to construct any dugout pond if there is already a facility to construct the earthen bunds. So you need to choose the dugout farm only in case when you do not have any condition of constructing the earthen bunds, because the earthen bund is more beneficiary compared to that of dugout ponds. Let us discuss the types of farm ponds. First one is dugout ponds. The second one is surface pond. Third one is spring and creek feed ponds. Last one is off-stream storage ponds. So first we have already discussed which is dugout form. What we do is that we'll dug the surface of the soil. The second thing is the surface pond. What we do is that we'll construct the embankments along the size of our pond, and then we'll try to store the water within that embankment. The third type of pond are the pond that are fed from the spring or wells, and the water is stored in those ponds. The last one is the water that is flowing in small streams are being stored in a small ponds that are constructed in the bank of the streams. As you can see in the slide, there are two farm ponds. One is without any protective cover, the other one which is having the plastic cover. So you can understand what is the difference between these two types of pond. The first pond will allow some amount of water to seep into the soil, but the second one will arrest the flow of water into the soil because of the protective cover, which is plastic cover. So plastic covers are placed on the dugout form ponds to avoid the flow of water or the seepage of water into the soil. Thank you.